Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dishatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Lilamrita Tar Sata Sata Dhar Dasadi Kabahe Jahaite Se Chaitanya Lilahai Sarovarakhyai Manaham Sacharahate Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, welcome to our Chaitanya Charitamrita regular reading. So we are in Adi Lila discussing the confidential reasons for the Lord's appearance. So last time we were discussing how Krishna and his devotees, when they come each to serve each other, how there is an increase of transcendental ecstasy and experience of increased sweetness take place. That was being discussed. That when a gopi comes to serve Krishna, Krishna becomes pleased, he is very happy to see his devotees. And then when Krishna is happy, he tries to give satisfaction, happiness to his devotee. And then when devotee becomes happy, then his desire to serve Krishna even increases. When he serves Krishna with his increased desire, that means Krishna is becoming happy, then Krishna also again trying to make his devotee happy. In that way, this exchange of loving reciprocation between devotees and Krishna is like a competition, transcendental competition. So in that way, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying that we find that the joy of the gopis nourishes the joy of Krishna. For that reason, the fault of the lust is not present in their love. And he gave the reference from the Goswami's writing. Then continuing today from 197. आरेक गोपी प्रेमे स्वाभाविक चिन्ह जे प्रकारे होय प्रेम काम गंधहीन. There is another natural symptom of the gopi's love that shows it to be without a trace of lust. So first, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami discussed how they both compete with each other to help release this loving sweetness in their association, which proves that there is no kamagandha. It's kamagandhahin. Now there is another symptom Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is going to speak. गोपी प्रेमे करे कृष्ण माधुर्य पुष्टि माधुर्य बढ़ाए प्रेम हैया महातुष्टि. Love of the gopis nourishes the sweetness of Lord Krishna. That sweetness in turn increases their love, for they are greatly satisfied. प्रीति विषयानंदे तदाश्रयानंद तहा nahi निज सुख वांछार संबंध. The happiness of the gopi, the happiness of the abode of love is in the happiness of the object of that love. And that is not relationship of desire for personal gratification. You see, we are discussing that the happiness of the abode of love is in the happiness of the object of that love. Krishna is the abode of love. Okay. And when a devotee serves Krishna, the devotee, actually Krishna is the object of love for devotee, devotee is the object of love for Krishna. So, very interesting point we need to understand here that when a devotee is engaged in serving Krishna, we are discussing about this, Gopi Prem, Gopi's love for Krishna, and how they are, very much liked by Krishna. Actually, Krishna likes his devotees very much, and they serve him wholeheartedly. So I was thinking that sometimes people they don't understand this, that how can Krishna become so attached to the devotees and there is no kamagandha, there is no even desire for selfish motives. You see in Bhagavad Gita, while discussing this karma sannyas yoga, Krishna Prabhupada says action in Krishna consciousness. In this, while instructing Niskama Karma Yoga, Krishna says, Yoga Yukta Vishuddhatma Vijitatma Jitendriya Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma Kurbanna Pinalipyate. And then next he says the Padma Patri Gambhaja. They are not touched by any sin, just like a lotus leaf is untouched by water. If a devotee who is engaged in Niskama Karma Yoga, that is called Yoga Yukta. And how is his situation? Vishuddhatma. Vishuddhatma means his intelligence is 100% pure, with pure intelligence. And Vijitatma. Vijitatma means whose soul is very pure, desires are pure. And then Jitendriya. He is controlled his senses. then Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. Such a devotee becomes the object of love of all. Kurbanna Pinalipit. Whatever he does, he doesn't identify himself with the body. He doesn't consider himself as a doer. And then whatever he does, Padma Patra Mivanna. But that means he is not identifying himself with anything. So if such is the stage Krishna is explaining for a Niskama Karma Yogi, then what is the difficulty in understanding that devotee can be the object of love for Krishna? Krishna, devotees that don't have any desire other than satisfying Krishna. What is the difficulty? While just entering into bhakti practice on the stage of Niskama Karma Yoga, this devotee, he is 100% pure in his intelligence, in his desires, his senses, and he controls his mind. Then why not possible in the transcendental relationship? This is not a relationship of desire for personal gratification. Taha nahi nijo sukha banchar sambandha. Unless a devotee gives up his desire for sense gratification, Krishna is not going to accept him, or Krishna is not going to accept any service from such a person. He may make a show of his so-called practice of devotion, but as long as one has desire for personal gratification, Krishna is not going to entertain such a person. That's why Nirupadhi prema jaha taha ei riti priti visaya sukhe asrayer priti nijo prema anandi Krishna sevananda vadhe Sri Anandir Priti Bhaktir Hoy Mahakrodhe. Whenever there is unselfish love, that is its style. The reservoir of love derives pleasure when the lovable object is pleased. When the pleasure of love interferes with the service of Lord Krishna, the devotee becomes angry toward any ecstasy, toward such ecstasy. Prabhupada is saying, as mentioned above, the gopis are the predominated lovers, and Sri Krishna is the predominator, the beloved. The love of the predominated nourishes the love of the predominator. The gopis had no desire for selfish enjoyment. Their feeling of happiness was indirect, for it was dependent on the pleasure of Krishna. Causeless love of Godhead is always so. Such pure love is possible only when the predominated is made happy by the happiness of the predominator. Such unadulterated love is exemplified when the lover deprecates her happiness in service that hinders her from discharging it. Even the gopis, when they come near Krishna, they don't want to remember anything. Or even in separation, if the wave of transcendental ecstasy hinders their mood of service to Krishna, they don't want that. So these in the platform of bhava, there is different emotions arising at different stages. And these emotions puts hindrance in serving Krishna. That's why they don't want that. They just simply want to serve. That's why it said, when the pleasure of love interferes with the service of Lord Krishna. Even what to speak of those emotions, then somebody, when he is serving the Lord, the happiness they get, if it is going to interfere with their service to Krishna, that also they don't want. Can you imagine what is the meaning of selfless love? In this material world, it is very difficult to understand this. You get something, you do something, you satisfied, you feel, oh, this is the kind of, uh, topmost object what you have been desiring, now you have got it, you enjoy. This is the meaning of that there is no enjoyment. Even that pleasure also they don't want to experience. Because when you are in pleasure mood, then service may stop. No, we don't want to experience anything. We just want to simply serve. This is how see, this is very difficult to understand in conditioned state of existence, that how can what is kind of impaling somebody to serve the Lord, even he doesn't want to experience the pleasure. That means the pleasure is always experienced by the devotees, but they are not uh, so much absorbed in it. Because if they are absorbed in it, then that is going to interfere with Krishna's service. Right. That is the point. That is what it said. Angastambharambha yuntam premanandam daruko nabhyanandat Kangsarate vijane jena saksha dakshudiyanantarayo vyadhai. Sri Darukar did not release his ecstatic feelings of love, for they caused his limbs to become stunned and thus obstructed his service of feigning Lord Krishna. Govinda Prakshanapeksi Baspapura Vivarshanam Uchai Ranindana Nindadanandam Arabinda Vilochana. The lotus-eyed Radharani powerfully condemned the ecstatic love that caused a flow of tears that hinders her sight of Govinda. So these are the examples that they don't want to even see. Like when somebody is in ecstasy, sometimes tears starts flowing from their eyes. And then when eyes filled with tears, they can't see actually, right? When your eyes are full of tears, you can't see an object very clearly. So they don't want, they see this as a hindrance to see the beauty of Krishna. That's why they don't want that. Sadhana doesn't want that. Ar Shuddha Vakta Krishna Prema Seva Vine Sasukhartha Salokyadi Nakare Grahane. Furthermore, pure devotees never forsake the loving service of Lord Krishna to aspire for their own personal pleasure through the 5 kinds of liberation. A pure devotee of Krishna who loves him exclusively will flatly refuse to accept any sort of liberation, beginning from merging with the body of the Lord and extending to the other varieties of liberation, such as equality of form, opulence or abode, and the opulence of living near the Lord. So this is how we can understand the pure nature of Gopi Prem, Gopi's love for Krishna. See, you have got 2 hands, you can enjoy so much. If you are given with 4 hands, then you can enjoy even more, right? Sarupya Mukti means having the similar form of the Lord as the Lord. thirsty, having the same type of opulence. Everybody is desiring opulence in this world. If one is given an opportunity that you can enjoy the opulence like God, you are like a God. So you go to him, he's in his abode, and stay there, just stay near him. But a devotee does not want that. That means the experience of service is higher sense of happiness. When we serve Krishna, because Krishna is unlimited, the happiness of serving Krishna also become unlimited. There is no limit. So in that way, you experience higher sense of happiness. What are you going to experience by getting some opulence? No. That's why devotees don't want. That's what he's saying. Madguna sutimatrena mai sarva guhasaye manogoti ravichinna jatha ganga hosa budo. Madguna sutimatrena. Just as the celestial water of the Ganges flow unobstructed into the ocean. So when my devotees simply hear of me, their minds come to me, who reside in the hearts of all. Ganga started her journey in the cave of Himalaya. And as she started flowing near Gangotri, you can see, big boulders. Mountain is trying to block her path. But has mountain become successful in blocking the path of Mother Ganga? No. So this is the nature of pure devotional service. Today my body is not good. Now my health is not good. I didn't eat properly. Couldn't sleep properly. That's why I cannot wake up for Mangalarti. Right? Oh, my, relatives, one of my relatives left his body. I don't know. I'm feeling very insecure in my job. Lot of hindrances are there. And we get easily affected. Our regular program to serve Krishna becomes, it gets stopped sometimes. Then how can you understand this pure devotional service? Therefore, here the Goswami is giving the example of Ganga. Ganga does not bother about any kind of hindrance put on her course to meet with devotion. She started her journey in Himalaya. Now she is in Ganga Sagar. So similarly, Lakshanam Bhakti Yogasya Nirgunasya Vidahritam Ahetukya Vyavihata Ja Bhakti Purushattame. Kapil Dev is speaking to Mother Devotee. Mother Devotee wanted to know. But Devotee is so pure and simple. Even though she is in the position of being the mother of the Supreme Lord, still she says, I am just an ordinary lady. I don't understand. Please instruct me. So Krishna, Kapil Dev says, Lakshanam Bhakti Yogasya Nirgunasya Udahata. Ahaitu Kyabhyabhyata. Ahaituki. It is causeless, no desire for anything. And Abhyabhyata means uninterrupted. These are the characteristics of transcendental loving service to Purushatta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is causeless and it cannot be obstructed in any way. Salukya, Sasti Salupya, Samipya, Tattvamai Pita, Dhyumanam Abhinanti Vinamatsera. My devotees do not accept Salukya, Sasti Salukya, Samipya, or oneness with me, even if I offer these liberations in preference to serving me. Matsevaya pratitam te salukyadi chatushayam nechanti sevaya purna Putanya Kala Viplutam. बोला मैं क्लास है ऐसी मत्स्य भया पतितम ते सालोक्यादि चतुष्टय. My devotees, having fulfilled their desires by serving me, do not accept the four kinds of salvation that are easily earned by such service. Why then should they accept any pleasure that are lost in the course of time? Prabhupada gives a small purport. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 9:467 was spoken by the Lord in connection with the characteristics of Maharaj Ambarish. Merging into the existence of the Absolute is as temporary as living in the celestial kingdom. Both of them are controlled by time. Neither position is permanent. कामगंधहीन स्वाभाविक गोपी प्रेम निर्मल उज्ज्वल शुद्ध जेन दग्धहेम. The natural love of the gopis is devoid of any trace of lust. It is faultless, bright, and pure, like molten gold. Very pure. Krishner Sahai Suru, Krishner Sahai Guru, Bandhava Prayasi, Gopika Hayan Priya Shishya Sakhidasi. The gopis are the helpers, teachers, friends, wives, dear disciples, confidants, and serving maids of Lord Krishna. Sahaya Guru Sishya Ujishya Bandhavastriya Satyam Badamite Partha Gopyo Kim Me Bhajantina. O Partha, I speak to you the truth. The gopis are my helpers, teachers, disciples, servants, friends, and consorts. I do not know what they are not to me. Gopis are everything for Krishna. Gopika janen Krishner maner vanchita prema seva paripati ishta samhita. The gopis know Krishna's desires and they know how to render perfect loving service for his enjoyment. They perform their service expertly for the satisfaction of their beloved. Since we are discussing about this gopis love, Krishna is very much attached to his devotees. The way gopis serve Krishna, they know the best way to serve Krishna, and that's how they satisfy Krishna. Krishna, then when we read this, sometimes people feel, oh, he is only satisfied by the gopis love, gopis service. If you see the pastime, like Krishna was very much satisfied by Draupadi's service also. That's how Krishna is very much attached to Draupadi. And because she was perfect devotee of Lord Krishna, she was able to serve, her husbands very in a particular way that even attracted Satyabhama to come to know about how are you serving. Can you tell us? This is the beauty of a pure devotee. So the service exchange between Gopi and Krishna is definitely not to be understood when somebody is having a lustful approach in this world. In Adi Puran, he says, Manma Hatmam mat sapariyam mat matsudham manmanogatam jananti gopikaha partha nanye jananti tattva. O Partha, the gopis know my greatness, my loving service, respect for me, and my mentality. Others cannot really know this. Sei gopi gona madhye uttama radhika rupe gune saubhagya preme sarvadhika. Among the gopis, Srimati Radhika is the foremost. She surpasses all in beauty, in good qualities, in good fortune, and above all, in love. Among all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most exalted. She is the most beautiful, the most qualified, and above all, the greatest lover of Krishna. यथा राधा प्रिया विष्णुस्तथा कुंडम प्रियम तथा सर्वगोपीषु सैवैका कृष्णो रत्यंत वल्लभा. Just as Radha is dear to Lord Krishna, so her bathing place Radha Kund is dear to Krishna. She alone is most beloved of all the gopis. Trailokye prithvi dhanya jatra vrindavanam puri tatrapi gopika partha jatra radha vidham mama. O Partha, in all the three planetary systems, this earth is especially fortunate. For on earth is the town of Vrindavan, and there the gopis are especially glorious because among them is my Srimati Radharani. Vrindavan is the topmost, and in Vrindavan, amongst all the devotees, Radharani is topmost. Krishna is speaking to Arjuna. Radha saha kridarasa vidhir karan adasavo gopikan rasopakaran. All the other gopis help increase the joy of Krishna's pastimes with Radharani. The gopis act as the instruments of their mutual enjoyment. Purport. It is said that the gopis are divided into 5 groups, namely the Sakhis, Nitya Sakhis, Prana Sakhis, Priya Sakhis, and Parama Prastha Sakhis. All these fair complexioned associates of Srimati Radharani, the Queen of Vrindavan Dham, are expert artists in evoking erotic sentiments in Krishna. The Paramaprastha Sakhis are 8 in number, and in the ecstatic dealings of Krishna and Radha, they side sometimes with Krishna and at other times with Radharani, just to create a situation in which it appears that they favor one against the other. That makes the exchange of mellow more palatable. Rasa Upakaran, the gopis. Krishna Vallabharadha Krishna Pranadhan Taha Bino Sukhahetu Nahe Gopigan. Radha is the beloved consort of Krishna, and she is the wealth of his life. Without her, the gopis cannot give him pleasure. Kangsari Rapika Sangsara Vasna Buddha Sinkhalam Radha Madhaya Hridaye Radham Adhaya Hridaye Tatyaja Brajasundari. Why Radharani is so great? That is being described here. Lord Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, left aside the other gopis during the rasa and took Srimati Radharani to his heart, for she is the helper of the Lord in realizing the essence of his desires. In this verse from the Gita Govinda, Jaydev Goswami describes Sri Krishna's leaving the Rasa Lila to search for Srimati Radharani. Sai Radhar Bhavalaya Chaitanya Avatar Jugadharma Nama Prema Kaila Parachar. Lord Chaitanya appeared with the sentiment of Radha. He preached the dharma of this age, the chanting of the holy name and pure love of God. We have discussed this before, right? That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came in the sentiment of Srimati Radharani, even though he is not Yuga Avatar, but that was the time when Yuga Avatar was supposed to descend. So like Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, Purna Bhagavan, when Krishna descends, all other incarnations also they enter in his body and they descend. So in a similar way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came when the Yuga Avatar was supposed to descend. So he did the work of Yuga Avatar, that is spreading the holy name. And then he also simultaneously preached about Prema Dharma, Prema Kaila Prachar, Nama Prema, Yuga Dharma, Nama Prema, and pure love of God also he gave. Because Krishna Danya Ko Balata Swapi Prema Bhavati, only Krishna can give prema, that's why he is giving this in this form as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sai Bhave Nija Vancha Karila Puran Avatarer Ei Vancha Mulakaran. In the mood of Srimati Radharani, he also fulfilled his own desires. This is the principal reason for his appearance. Krishna wanted to know how Radharani feels pleasure in serving him and what kind of experiences she gets. So in that way, when he came with the sentiment of Srimati Radharani, then he was able to fulfill his own desires in form of Sri Chaitanya. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gosai Brajendra Kumar Rasamaya Murti Krishna Sakshat Singha. Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya is Krishna Brajendra Kumar, the embodiment of rasas. He is amorous love. He is amorous love personified. Sai Rasvaswadite Kailavatar Anusangi Kailasavasir Prachar. He made his appearance to taste that conjugal mellow and incidentally to broadcast all the rasas. Then Shrisamanuranjanena Janayannanandamindivara Srinishyamalakomalirupanayannangairanangotsavam Swachandam Brajasundari Bhiravita Pratyangamangi Malingita Sringara Sakhimurti Maniva Madho Mugdha Hari Krilati. This is also another verse from Gita Govinda. My dear friends, just see how Sri Krishna is enjoying the seasons of spring with the gopis. embracing each of his limbs. He is like amorous love personified. With his transcendental pastimes, he enlivens all the gopis and the entire creation. With his soft, bluish black arms and legs, which resemble blue lotus flower, he has created a festival for Cupid. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gosai Rasir Sadan Ashesha Vishesha Kaila Rasa Aswadam. Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya is the abode of rasa. Himself tasted the sweetness of rasa in endless ways. সেইদ্বারে প্রবর্তাইল কলিযুগ ধর্ম চৈতন্যের দাসে জানে এই সব মর্ম. Thus, he intimated the dharma for the age of Kali. The devotees of Chaitanya know all these truths. Lord Chaitanya is Sri Krishna himself, the absolute enjoyer of the love of the gopis. Himself assumes the role of the gopis to taste the predominated happiness of transcendental mellows. He appeared in that mood, but simultaneously he propagated the religious process for this age in a most fascinating way. Only the confidential devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can understand this transcendental secret. Then the topic is changing. So we will conclude our class here today. Any question or comment? Very difficult subject to explain. What can we explain about all these narrations?
Actually, Prabhu, I have a couple of questions for you. May I ask you? So this question is regarding the last class. You mentioned that these topics are very confidential. You know, we're not supposed to discuss it in public and everything. It's very confidential. So, could you explain or could you throw some light on? So, it is so confidential. Prabhupada wrote Krishna book, which has the Rasa Panchad hai, and then he wanted to distribute everywhere, which is so confidential. So how can we understand even so confidential? It's not to reveal in public, but then Prabhupada also wanted the Krishna book to be distributed everywhere.
No, actually, yeah, see, Krishna book, Prabhupada has given in story form. He has not, gone through all these verses, and as it is, he has not given. Because Prabhupada knows how much people can accept and how to understand these pastimes. So when Prabhupada has given commentary on the 10th canto as a Krishna book, that is allowed because as an Acharya, he knows what to reveal and how much to reveal. But when you are reading as it is directly, without being qualified, there's a problem actually. The mind gets disturbed. That is the problem. Therefore, but now what is happening is connected devotees of Krishna consciousness movement, they are practicing, they are becoming more serious. When you find a group of serious devotees and they come together, they discuss. That's okay, we can say like that. But mostly this kind of mood are meant for the release for an advanced devotee. And like in Vrindavan, there are some devotees who on regular basis they just read this, for example, Rasa Panchadhyaya, okay? That is the prana of Bhagavatam. If you take the Bhagavatam as the body, what is prana? Prana is Rasa Panchadhyaya. So some devotees, they just on regular basis, they just focus on that part only. They don't, that is their sadhana. That's confidential part, and personally, that has to be done, not with everybody. Yeah, sometimes that can be done when there is scope, and then also how much to discuss all these things. So devotee has to understand, what is their position. And another thing is also, if they are sincerely studying, that will also help them to become, completely purified of the material contamination. That's also there. Bhagavatam it is said.
Thank you, Prabhu. I would like to ask anyone if there are any questions. If not, then I will ask.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you for the class, Prabhuji. In verse 208, where Lord says, like, devotees do not want those 4 kinds of salvation that are easily earned by such service. That, and in the purport it says, this verse is from Bhagavatam, was spoken by Lord in connection with the characteristics of Maharaj Ambarish. Merging into the existence of the Absolute is as temporary as living in the celestial kingdom. Both of them are controlled by time, neither position is permanent. So how is it related to Ambarish Maharaj story, Prabhuji? And when devotees get this kind of salvation, is it temporary? Like, does it expire after some time and they come back, or how does it work?
You see, even our acharyas and acharyas in Madhvacharya line, Travanacharya also, our explanation is this: merging into the existence of the Supreme, which is called Sajujya Mukti, we don't accept that. Why? You see, in Bhagavad Gita, Mama Sadharma Magata, Idam Gyanupasatyam Mama Sadharma Magata, Sarge Pina Pajayante Ployanam Bethayanti Cha. So that knowledge which have been discussed in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, it helps him to attain Mama Sadharmam. What is the meaning of Mama Sadharmam? Some explain this as like, they become one with the Supreme Lord. No, our Acharya, they explain Sadharma means these 8 qualities: ageless, deathless. They are, they become, they can, what do you say, fulfill, all their desires will be fulfilled. So that is the stage they attain. And once they attain that stage, then they realize that they have the same spiritual identity as Krishna. This is what they come to realize. Nitya and Chaitanya. And then after that, they come in contact with a devotee of the Lord, where they start devotional service. So that is how their kind of line opens. But in some other sampradaya, that's why they become constant. You can say the argument going on, conflict going on between personalists and impersonalists. And I cannot resolve this here. But what our acharyas, explain about this, I just reveal to you that we accept that if somebody is sincerely practicing this, he's a Brahmavadi, or even if he's a Sankhyaite, follow the Sankhya philosophy. Krishna, said in Bhagavad Gita, Sankhya Yoga Prathak Bala Pravadanti Na Pandita. The difference, Sankhya means by analytical study. They try to understand Vishnu, and they want to, so sometimes they want to merge their existence. So, but actually, the Sankhya and Yoga are not different. That is, if somebody is saying they are actually, ignorant, Prathak Bala, Prabhupada not Pandita, wise people that don't see any difference. This is why our acharyas say that, this is leading to personal conception. So if some other people, they may accept it like that, let them accept. We don't want to favor them. We don't want to get infatuated with their understanding, their way of understanding. And anyway, we don't have to understand that so much. Already you know Krishna is a person, you are serving him. And by engaging yourself in his service, you will attain perfection. Don't worry about that part. This impersonalism too much.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Ambarish Maharaj, I couldn't understand. Like characteristics of Ambarish Maharaj means what?
These stories there, no? Lord is speaking to him. So that is just an example. Welcome, Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhu, I have two questions, Prabhu. Prabhu, whether you want to ask any question, Mataji? I want to. If you agree, Mataji, I'm done with the questions, or you want to ask one?
No, I just didn't understand Maharaj Ambarish story. Is there anything related to that? I was about.
Lord is speaking to him.
Oh, Lord is speaking to him. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
So in the purport to the verse 200, 201, Prabhu, you mentioned about the feeling of happiness was indirect for the gopis. So Prabhu, when Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sukham kartum abhyayam, that performing devotion is a joyful process. So is this joyful? So you mentioned the pure devotees are at least exalted as gopis. They don't want the enjoyment because they feel that's a hindrance to devotional service. But they do get happiness that they don't get absorbed in it. And they get indirect happiness because Krishna is happy. So when Krishna mentions that Sukham kartum abhyayam, that they become, it's a very joyful process. So is that joy, an indirect joy by serving Krishna, they get joy, or I love doing it. That joy, what is the different joy, what I'm talking about what Krishna is talking about? Is a joy that by performing service to Krishna is again joyful, or by performing service, Krishna becomes happy, and indirectly they are, being happy about how the question doesn't make sense.
When the gopis, they serve Krishna, they don't directly serve Krishna, they serve Srimati Radharani. Like our next gives example, no? There are different types of sakhis, and that one type of sakhi, the name, what is the name he mentioned? Prashta sakhi. Paramaprashta, right? Paramaprashta sakhis. So they take side of one party, and it looks like, they are indirectly trying to serve Krishna. So here the experience is, for example, in Nikunja pastime, they make all the decorations, they bring flowers, they prepare the betel nut, laddu, everything, and they keep it ready. Then Radha and Krishna enters into Kunja. So this is an indirect way of experiencing happiness. But that indirect way of experiencing happiness, I had mentioned it before. Krishna Chaitanya Thakur explains in his Krishna Bhavnamrita scripture. That happiness is also even higher than the direct happiness that one can seek from bodily association of Krishna. So here mostly service part has to be taken. That when we serve through the Guru, that kind of happiness is being discussed
here. So when Krishna says Sukham kartum abhyayam, is that talking about that indirectly serving Krishna, the joyful process? So,
no, there is, in general, he's speaking that when somebody is engaged in devotional service, they get, happiness. That is what it is. See, here we are talking about the, bhav or the mood of the gopi. That's why it has been discussed like that. But in the stage of sadhana practice, a devotee, when he chants, when he does deity worship, he does anything, he experiences happiness. And susukham means very happily, joyfully performed. Like our acharyas, they give the example that just by serving Tulasi Maharani, he becomes, attains perfection in Krishna consciousness. That is Susukham. Susukham means very easily performed, very comfortably. Deity, how many people can perform deity worship nowadays? You tell me. Very difficult. First of all, we are, not qualified to even chant the mantras properly. Krishna, when you serve Krishna, you should chant some mantras. Then only you can serve Krishna. And there is no suddhi. There is no suddhi also. Mind is always disturbed. Mind is always thinking of so many things. Then how can you serve Krishna in such a impure mind? But Tulasi Maharani, she has appeared in form of plant. She doesn't require so much of attention. You can serve her very easily, and you can attain the same benefit of worshipping the deity form of the Lord, Sri Vigraha Seva. So in that context, it's Susukham Kartum Abhyayam, and it gives unperishable result.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. I have one more question, Prabhu. In the to the verse 204, Prabhu, when talking about Raj Goswami is talking about the 4 types of liberation. He says, as Prabhupada says, a pure devotee of Krishna will flatly refuse to accept any sort of liberation. But all the 4. So today we are actually reading in a group reading Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, the 29th chapter we're reading, Prabhu. And in the purport in the commentary of Sri Vishwa Chakri Thakur to verse 13, I just in the translation, Prabhu. So Tikravati says, they do not accept this liberation without service to me. This means that if some devotees do accept these things, they accept for service to me. So means devotees do accept, then are the devotees not pure devotees because they do accept? Prabhupada says that pure devotee does not accept at all. So that I'm trying to connect these two.
No. Listen.
Yeah.
This statement is that the devotees do accept these lessons provided there is an opportunity to serve Krishna. So this statement is given to make us understand the importance of serving Krishna. Not that you draw a conclusion that pure devotee will accept this kind of mukti to serve Krishna. He may also, but what is the priority here? What is the goal? The goal is to serve Krishna. They are more satisfied in serving Krishna. That is what we have to understand this. Seva Sukha.
So then why would a devotee go back to spiritual if they don't want to serve Krishna? I mean, service will always be there. Right?
Devotee, no. They don't want to serve Krishna?
No, if they don't want to serve Krishna, why would they go back?
Why they don't want to serve Krishna? Who said?
No, I'm saying if they don't want to serve Krishna, why would they go back to spiritual world? I mean, service is always there for devotees, right?
No, don't speak like this. Why they don't want to serve Krishna? Devotees' very life, very existence is meant for serving Krishna.
Yes.
And you may ask why they don't even desire to go to the spiritual world. That's up to Krishna. Okay, Krishna, you desire, you bring me there or you keep me here. Wherever you keep me, I am as long as I am engaged in your service. You engage me in your service, I am happy, satisfied. They want to serve, not that they don't want to. And because devotees are wholeheartedly engaged in his service, then Krishna reveals his Swarupa and bring them back to the spiritual world. That is Krishna's prerogative. He does that for his devotees. Because he sees my devotee so sincerely serving me now, he cannot remain without such a devotee. He doesn't want to separate himself. That's why he will bring him to the spiritual world.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Because I understand too. Yeah, I got the semantics wrong. That's a, Thank you for correcting too. Thank you so much, bro.
See, sometimes these are called nyaya. Nyaya means logic. Logic have been used. Logic means not have to be taken as it is. There must be some essence. What is that essence?
That makes sense. So the point of Raj Goswami and Chakravarti mentioning is the essence of service. Service is the essential aspect, and whatever demands service, that will be done. Whatever
For service, anything they can accept. If there is no service, we will not accept it. So that what is the priority? Priority is devotional service, not that attaining liberation, mukti.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranams, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for today's class. But today's class was very deep, Prabhuji. I have a few questions, and especially with verse 223, where I'm not able to understand two things. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, we know the confidential reason, and the other reason for the Sankirtan movement was one, and the other one was to taste the whole bhav of Radharani, in the mood of Radharani, right? So he wanted to understand that. So in verse 223, he says, he made his appearance to taste that conjugal mellow and incidentally to broadcast all the rasas. On one side, we said that these are confidential, and then this is broadcast. And then, so that's part one. Second part I'm not able to understand is when he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how was he able to understand the rasas? In the sense, the gopis were not there at that time, and there were no written literatures or anything like that, right? So I know he's the Lord himself, but how do we understand that he understood the rasas in a certain way?
Rai, Ramananda Sane, Ramananda Rai, Sarup Damodar, they helped him to release this rasa. See, this is a very interesting point. How he released.
Yes, that's where I have confusion, Prabhuji.
Night time, if you see Gambhira pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will hear the loving exchanges between Radharani and Krishna, then different types of emotion will arise in him just by hearing. And then the Sarup Damodar, what he will do, he will quote similar type of verses and he will sing some song that will enhance the release part. Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will release even more. Sometimes he will kind of, then, come to him and understanding he is Lalita Sakhi because he is speaking like Lalita. In the mood of Radharani, oh, Lalita, please tell me where is Krishna, how can I find Krishna? So that kind of experience he used to have in Gambhira only with Sarup Damodar and Rai Ramananda. That's why it is confidence. So,
right.
like you when you go to Sankirtan, the devotee is singing so nicely, beautiful in a melodious way, you feel, you get drawn to such singing. You release that song actually. How do you release? You release. That's an experience you get.
Right.
Not that necessarily gopis has to be there, then only. That's why that is how you can understand the Kama Gandha. It's pure transcendental. The release is in form of Chaitanya. He did with his associates by discussing about these pastimes in their association. Many times we have seen devotees when they read, in a similar company of devotees, they enjoy actually, they release, their mind becomes absorbed, they feel some sort of bliss out of reading such literature. And that is how mind enters into samadhi. That is how mind enters into samadhi.
Yes, Prabhuji. So the way we understand that how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tasted the actual mellows is by their exchange with Rai Ramananda Prabhu and Swarup Damodar. Like that. I mean, that's how we understand he was able to fulfill that desire.
He was releasing.
Okay. All right, Prabhuji. So thank you so much for explaining that, Prabhuji, for clearing that.
They are actually, they are the gopis in the male body. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come in the male body. So in that way, in their association, by discussing these pastimes, this exchange of love in Krishna and his devotees in Vrindavan pastime, he was able to release it. And the point is, you try to understand this. Before also we have discussed this. Why it is becoming so difficult for us to understand how did it happen? You see, Radha Krishna nahe anya. Before we have said, Radha Krishna eko atma dui deha dhari. Radha and Krishna are eko atma. There are not two different souls. There are only one soul. So that's why when he came, means he actually in that same mode he was trying to experience. Otherwise, if he is a different person, how can he what is happening with another person? I mean, so how he's experiencing the happiness and distress in his mind, you cannot experience that, even though you try to imbibe his mood, because you are two different personalities. But there is no problem in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to experience that, because Radha Krishna Ekatma. And how did he do that? By discussing with his devotees. Because in Vrindavan pastime, Krishna would sometimes talk to Lalita also. Sorry, Radharani also would sometimes talk to Lalita also when she feels intense separation from Krishna. She will reveal her mind. Same thing happening here.
Right. And those, Prabhuji, those discussions will be there further on, right? As we read Chaitanya Charitamrita, they'll come in that Antya-lila and the further.
Yeah. So maybe that.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare.
Ananta Koti
Vaishnava
की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय।